Hey, good evening, everybody. We're going to start the agenda for the protection and policy meetings for Monday, May 23rd, 2022. Roll call. Vice Chair Scannell.
Here.
Alder Grant.
Here.
Alder Morgan.
Here.
Right, and I'm here as well. We're all present. All right, we'll go on to approval of the agenda. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays? All right, we got her. Approval of the minutes for May 9th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? All right, passes. On to regular business. So before we start, this committee makes recommendations to the council, which will be meeting on June 7th, 2022 at 6 p.m. at City Hall. Final approval denials will be made to the common council unless they are held. Tonight is just a recommendation to the council. Okay, all right, we'll move on to regular business. Consideration with possible action on a change of agent for De Pere Dodgers Baseball Club, Inc. at 1450 East Walnut Street. Attorney Clark.
No objections from the law department.
Thank you.
The please concur.
Thank you. I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays?
I'm going to abstain from voting. I am the assistant general manager of that baseball club.
Okay, thank you. 3-1, 3 approve, 1 abstain. Number 2, consideration with possible action on the change of agent for Walgreens Co. at 1401 East Mason Street. Attorney,
No objections from the law department.
thank you.
The please concur.
I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. All right, that passes. Number 3, consideration with possible action on the 2021-2022 license year original application for an available Class B combination license for Sabadi CAF LLC at 1730 South Ashland Ave with a licensed premise description as storage room, 2 bathrooms, and kitchen with dining room area contingent upon the approval of the proper authorities. This was previously licensed as Zach's Action PLT Billards Area LLC during the 2019-2020 license year. Attorney,
No objections.
Lieutenant,
The please concur.
okay, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. All right, that passes. Number 5, consideration with a possible action on a 2022-2023 renewal application for a Class B combination license for Barney's LLC.
Didn't we miss
Alder
4?
Stevens, you missed number 4. It was the renewal for the same place you just approved.
Oh, look at that. All right, number 4. Consideration with possible action on a 2022-2023 license year renewal application for a Class B combination license for Sabadi CAF LLC at 1730 South Ashland Ave, contingent upon the approval of the proper authorities and of the original application by council at 6-7 meeting. Attorney,
No objections.
Lieutenant,
The please concur.
thank you.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. All right, passes. All right, now on to number 5. Consideration of possible action on a 2022-2023 renewal application for a Class B combination license for Barney's LLC at 201 North Washington Street with a revised license premise description as 2,400 square feet selling space, first floor, 200 square foot storage and back, first floor, subject to the approval of the proper authority. Attorney,
No objections.
Lieutenant,
The please concur.
I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? All right, that passes. Number 6, consideration with possible action on a 2022-2023 renewal application with a change of agent by MCR Green Bay Tenant LLC at 1011 Tonal Run for a Class B liquor and Class B beer license. Attorney,
No objections.
Lieutenant,
Please concur.
Motion to approve.
Second.
all approve,
Yay, aye.
Aye.
Yay.
nays, okay, that passes. Number 7, consideration of the possible action, various liquor renewal applications for the 2022-2023 license year, contingent upon the approval of the proper authority. Attorney,
No objections.
Lieutenant,
Please concur.
thank you. I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Okay, that passes. Number 8, consideration with possible action on the appeal of Miss Jackie Anthony on the declaration of a dangerous dog for her animal, Jacob or Jake. Attorney,
Thank you. So if you all recall from the May 9th Protection Policy Committee meeting, this item was held over primarily for the reason that there was a circuit court action regarding the incident pending. The city withdrew its petition and the destruction order for that animal primarily due to the fact that that petition was filed to the respondent, Mr. David Harris. Since that filing, Miss Anthony, who's the appellant here, came forward with records and other information to verify she's in fact the owner of the dog. So we are going to proceed with a quasi judicial hearing regarding Miss Anthony's appeal. Over just briefly how the process will take place. This is outside of ordinary business that this committee will now be a quasi judicial body hearing from both the appellant and the city regarding the destruction order for this dog. I'm sorry, regarding the dangerous dog declaration. This is in fact not a destruction order. So I'm going to just go over the process briefly. The appellant, that's appropriately Miss Anthony, will have 5 minutes to speak, state her case. The information she provided was provided in the public packet for this hearing. The city, represented by Officer Mallory Mays, who's the humane officer for the Green Bay Police Department, will speak for an equal amount of time. There's an opportunity for the appellant, Miss Anthony, to respond for 2 minutes. Then any questions of the committee members, which is the 4 alders, have an opportunity to ask either Miss Anthony or Officer Mavis any questions. Then we will open it up to other interested parties to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. All entities, including the appellant, the officer, and any, I will administer a brief oath because this is all sworn testimony for this hearing. Then we will conclude testimony. If there are no other questions, and the committee may go into closed session to deliberate, and then return following that for open session. Does anybody have any questions about the process before we proceed? Okay. If Miss Anthony is on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I'm going to
Um,
provide a brief oath. I'm going to ask you, even though I can't see you, I don't believe, to raise your right hand. And then I'm just
Okay.
going to, the appropriate responses I do after this. So I'm going to ask you, do you swear the testimony you're about to provide is the whole truth in this matter?
I do.
Thank you. You can proceed with stating your information to the committee. And as I said, you'll have approximately 5 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to speak here today. I didn't want to inundate all of you with the videos and the letter, so I just sent a few just to get an idea of Jacob's behavior and personality. I know what happened that day was tragic and it was a horrible thing. But I also know that it was human error, and it was human error on my part as well. I've been working between 140 and 150 hours every 2 weeks. So my dogs have been left alone quite a long time. So I had my sons coming to care for them, and that was my biggest mistake. They're not good with dogs. I don't know what happened. Like I said, I wasn't here, but I do know that they didn't do the proper thing when the animals got loose. They were being chased. My youngest son, when the incident happened with Jacob, actually admitted to me that he was choking the dog and punching the dog in the face and in the head, which and more and scared him. He was absolutely terrified. And I have is being boarded outside the city right now due to the situation. This has been a very heartbreaking, eye-opening, and expensive experience for me. I've learned a great deal, and it's changed the situation with my dog. My younger one comes with me to work, or I board her in daycare where Jacob is right now, and they love it. So I am going to be working that many hours. If I'm allowed to take Jacob back home, he will be boarded there while I'm at work, or he will be with me at my work on property. I work at an elderly care facility with a secure gated inside backyard, and the dogs have already been there. They know the residents, and I'm allowed to bring them as long as I have the paperwork. So they will never be left alone or unattended or left with people that don't know how to take care of dogs. I don't know what else to say except for that I'm really sorry. And I feel horrible for the lady who lives down the road with her cat, but I wasn't here and I couldn't control the situation. But Jacob is a very loving, very kind, very obedient dog if he's not terrified or put into that type of situation. I truthfully believe it was all human error. And I thank you for letting me speak, but I don't know what else to say, except for that he really is a good dog. I mean, he's been with newborns and elderly people. He's had his butt handed to him by a peacock, and he learned to leave birds alone. And I brought him up to the rescue. He's great with cattle, pigs, horses. He just has never gotten along with cats. And I believe that's what triggered the whole thing. But I guarantee you he would never have a situation like that happen again. I mean, he's 9 years old, and this was the only time he's ever had an incident like this. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Anthony, thank you. Officer Mavis?
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, I'm going to do
Okay.
a quick oath for you, Officer Mavis.
Sure.
Again, the appropriate responses I do. Do you swear the testimony you're about to provide is the whole truth in this matter?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed.
21st at about 1:30 in the afternoon, we had gotten a call at Care for All Ages, which is an old folks home and a daycare that has young children, that there were 2 loose dogs that were running that area. If you are familiar with the area off of 9th Street where the Care for All Ages complex and facility is located, there's a dead end on 10th Street right there. And there were 2 loose dogs. One of the loose dogs named Jacob, which is a gray pit bull terrier mixed dog, ended up attacking and killing an elderly resident's cat on her own front porch. Then ran next door and bit and injured a dog, and then ended up biting that victim dog's owner while her child was outside. This woman was screaming for her child to get into the house. And then there were 2 of Jacqueline's sons that were coming to gather the dogs. The one dog that was not involved in the incident, her name was Juliet. That is the one that her son David Harris ended up taking and choking and hoisting off the ground. There were evidence of animal abuse, and I did seize that dog, and he was taken to jail on mistreating an animal. That dog has since returned back to Jacqueline's care. Her son David Harris does reside with her at that address. That is where he lists his probation agent. So he is living at that home at the time of the incident. So he did not come to just relieve the dogs or anything else like that. That is his listed residence. And this dog, Jacob, he had 3 incidences basically in a 5 to 10 minute time span. So if you look at our dangerous dog declaration ordinance 6-13, it indicates any animal that acts in a menacing fashion, unprovokingly causes injury or death. And at this point, we have all the criteria that is met. The dog is acting in a menacing fashion. The dog has been involved in a bite to another animal, and the dog has killed a cat, all off property while not under control of the animal owner or person in possession able to adequately control the actions of that animal. It is a safety concern based on our ordinance for that animal to remain in our Green Bay city limits. If that dog were to escape the property or slip its collar, or however it is under control, the issue is that this dog is not properly controlled. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when this could potentially happen again, therefore posing a health and safety concern. In addition to that, Miss Anthony did not have current dog licenses, which is required by City Ordinance 6-2(a) and Wisconsin State Law 174.07. State law requires that a dog be fitted with a state required rabies tag and city license in addition to that. Those were not satisfied, and the dogs were running at large. So there are multiple violations here, and enforcement action was taken and the dog was ordered out of the city.
Anything further, Officer Mavis?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay. Miss Anthony, you have an opportunity to respond for up to 2
Thank
minutes.
you. Thank you. First of all, David, this is his mailing address, and he has since changed it with his probation and parole officer because he doesn't actually reside here. He uses this because he was homeless and bouncing from home to home. He is now residing with his brother on St. Paul Street. So yeah, they were coming here just to care for my animals and for David to shower and whatever. And also it states in the laws, the bylaws, that the dog had to be unprovoked. And I just feel very strongly that Jacob was provoked, and he was being choked and hit and terrified. And I believe that that provoked him to start all of that to begin with. He's not a dangerous dog. He has never been a dangerous dog. We run up with family outings and go camping, and I've never had an incident with him causing any problems with any of the children in the other campgrounds, any of the kids up at the animal rescue. He's never attacked another animal ever. I mean, he chased a peacock and the peacock kicked his butt and he came running back. I mean, any other animal, any other breed of dog in the circumstances that my dog was put in would more than likely have done the same thing. Not killed the cat. I admit that's a horrible thing and that never should have happened. But being terrified and trying to break free, any other dog would have done the same thing. I just know he's not a dangerous animal. And where he's at right now, he's doing wonderfully. Everybody's introduced him to all the other dogs there, as well as all the caregivers there, and he hasn't had any type of problems. He's getting along wonderfully with everyone. They love him. Thank you.
Any questions from committee members for either Miss Anthony or Officer Mavis?
Officer Mavis, have we had any other complaints at that address or about that animal?
Nothing specific with that animal. What I would state is that if an animal were to get loose and not cause an injury, that would be, something to take into consideration and not order them out of the city. Obviously, I understand that animals are animals and act on instinct. I think this dog's prey drive was in prey mode. Gotta hunt, gotta get where he needs to go, and like I said, but this dog was loose. It caused an injury, repeated injuries, and death. And like I said, it's a great safety concern. It's not like a dog just got loose. It caused damage and death and injury.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Officer
Right.
Mavis, how was the dog once you guys restrained it? Did it calm down? Did it act more of in a calm manner?
The dog, actually, when both dogs were brought out of the home, Miss Jacqueline's son, David, brought both dogs out. And actually at that time, both dogs did get loose on leashes and were running around, and he couldn't control either of them on the property. And the dog is hyper. It's an intact, non-altered male. So therefore its prey drive is going to be much higher than say a neutered male.
Officer Mavis, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but he is neutered. He was neutered at the age of 6 months.
Okay, I believe he was an intact male. That's what was reported.
I'm sorry, no, he's neutered. And David probably couldn't control him because he was intoxicated.
Miss Anthony, how long have you owned this dog?
I've had him since he was 4 weeks old. I spoon and bottle fed this animal. I took him in with 4 other pups, and he was just took my heart, so I kept him. And when my mother was ill, she big on large dogs, and he crawled from the end of her bed up to the head of her bed on his belly and laid with her when she was passing away. And she called for him every day until the day that she died. That dog got a big deal, and I know he seemed really violent to Officer Mavis at that time, but I can assure you he is not. He is a very loving animal, and I don't know what to say except for that. He's gotten me and my family through a great deal of emotional battles with his compassion and his love and his comfort. And I truly believe that if David hadn't been here and hadn't been intoxicated, that none of this would have happened, because he's the reason Jacob went out. And when Michael started hitting the dog after he was already bolting from the home, that just intensified Jake's fear. Jacob is a big dog, and he does have high energy, but he's also arthritic, and he is neutered, and he was only acting out of fear. And I've seen it with him before. Not a violent animal. He's not aggressive. He does have strong prey drive for cats. I'll agree to that. And it's a horrible thing. And that's something I cannot break him from. But I have been raising and bringing dogs into my home over 30 years. And I've had to put down aggressive dogs. I've had to put dogs down that I really loved because they either were fear biters or they were downright aggressive towards other animals that I had in the home. And I had grandkids and kids. So yeah, I had to do that. Jacob's not like that. He's not one of those types of dogs. He just had a horrible day. 8 years and 9 months of his life, and he had one horrible day. And I just don't want to lose him because of somebody else's terrible mistake.
There are other questions for Ms. Anthony from the committee members?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead.
Mr. Anthony, you stated that if circumstances were different. Well, what do you, when you say circumstances, what are you talking about if things were different?
Had I not allowed my boys to care for them dogs, if David had not been drinking on that day, he would have used better judgment, and he wouldn't have allowed the people in my home that were here terrorizing my dog. There was people in my home that didn't even belong on my property on that day. She had just recently been released from prison and tracked my son down and was here in my home. And that's what initiated the entire disaster, was having those people here and him drinking. David isn't even supposed to be drinking. That's why he can't live with me, because he has issues that he's in treatment for right now. And until he can get his life turned around, I just can't deal with him. He can't be around little Gigi because of what happened. So when he comes here, I either have to have her boarded or have her with me at my work.
Okay, thank
But
you.
now, after
you,
this
Evan.
situation happened, I've just decided the dogs will either always be with me or they will be boarded at Circle Kennel.
Okay, thank you for that. I do have another question. Excluding the day in question, how often have your children watched the animal?
My younger son and his wife would come here, my dogs out, and walk them once a day, and they were doing it, I don't know, maybe for a couple of weeks. because Jacob hadn't been being walked, and that was the issue. And Michael and his wife and their 2 kids would come and take him, and they had no problems. And David was raised around all these animals. I mean, he's always had dogs, and he's usually very good with them. But when he drinks alcohol, he just like anybody else, he's not the brightest bulb in the box. And I don't know what happened or transpired. I wish I did, but I do know that it was on him, and it was his fault and his mistake for allowing that to happen to my dog. And it's an unforgivable act because I'll take Jacob over that boy all day long.
All right, thank you. Mallory, Maves, I have a question for you too.
Sure.
So, how many citations were issued?
2 citations were issued to Jacqueline's son, David Harris. One was for no dog license, and the other one was for animal running at large. And then I did refer charges of mistreating an animal and a probation hold on him, as he had to abide by conditions of his probation upon his release.
Second question for you. So regarding the city citations, have those fines been paid yet or no?
That I am not aware of. I'm just looking at, looks like the court date for an appearance is June 23rd of 2022. At the time of the incident, David indicated that he was the person in possession and animal owner. When officers did make contact at the address, the only people that were on scene at the home were David Harris and her other son, Michael.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Officer Mavis, did you say, I apologize, was there signs of abuse on both dogs or just one?
Just the one dog. It was the dog that was not involved in any of the attacks. So there was a dog named Juliet. She, I guess, goes by the name of Gigi. That is the dog that had broken blood vessels on the sclera of her eye, both eyes, which is consistent with trauma to the head, and then an abrasion to the inside of the back leg. And like I said, that dog was not involved in any of the attacks or anything like that. It was the other dog, Jacob, that had repeatedly caused all these issues. So the problem is that no one was controlling these dogs when all these attacks happened. These dogs were loose, and the boys just couldn't maintain control of them. It doesn't sound like there was any kind of hitting or anything else like that going on until after the fact.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
I do actually have one question. As far as the dog going to this care facility, is it a care facility that's in the city of Green Bay? And is this facility covering insurance if there were to be any future accidents that happen on the premises of this facility? Only because most insurance companies will not cover a dog a second time after a first incident has happened.
Yeah, I spoke with them. They understood exactly the situation and what was going on. And I don't know personally if they have insurance for that. But I do know that it is a secured facility, and they've had no issues with Jacob at all since they've taken him in.
Ms. Anthony, the location of this facility?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not in Green Bay. It's in Ashwaubenon on Circle Drive. I believe
Thank
it's
you.
off of Ridge. Yeah.
I was actually referring to, you mentioned that you work for a facility that cares for the elderly.
Yes, where I work. That is in the city of Green Bay. It's off of Military Avenue. And the fence that Jacob and Gigi would be in is an 8-foot gated area. And I believe we do have insurance. I'd have to talk to the director about exactly what insurance we have for them. But as long as the animals are all up to date on everything, and they've been there. They're allowed to come there. I've brought Gigi there since I brought her back home from the Humane Society, and Jacob has been there in the past with me. So they know the dogs, they're acquainted with them. And there's 2 ladies that I care for that actually take Jacob to their room occasionally. That's where I can find him if I don't know where he's at usually. They like him.
Questions from committee members for either Officer Mavis or Miss Anthony? If not, okay. Is there anybody, individuals from the public participating in the meeting who wish to offer testimony? Was that
No,
Ms. Abby Brzezinski? Do you have your hand up for that? Okay, can you,
I'll make a
thank you,
motion.
Lieutenant Mahoney.
I'll take a
You don't
motion.
need, you don't, oh, I'm sorry, Alder Stevens, we don't have to make a motion.
Oh,
Because we're receiving testimony, but thank you. Ms. Brzezinski, I'm going to administer a brief oath to you as I did for others, the appropriate responses I do. So just raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you are about to provide in this whole truth is, I'm sorry, is the whole truth in this matter?
Do.
You go ahead.
Abby Brzezinski, 1448 10th Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the Old Norwood Neighborhood Association. This situation was brought to our attention about 2 weeks ago. I met with the neighbor who had the cat who died. I met with her about it for an hour and a half. The description of what she shared with me was one of the most horrific, awful scenarios I have ever heard with an animal. She has extreme trauma from it, and I do not blame her. I left and I was absolutely horrified. I met for about a half hour with the neighbors next door. There is a neighbor across the street and then the neighbor down the road. All have children. They have asked, as the neighborhood association president, I represent the neighborhood and advocate that this dog does not come back to Green Bay.
Anything else, Ms. Brzezinski?
No, I feel like anything else would be directed toward Officer Mavis. There was a ton of horrific details that she shared with me, and of course I was not there. She would maybe be more able to share facts. Again, I'm just here with the neighborhood association to say that we are not in favor of the dog returning to the neighborhood.
Ms. Brzezinski, were you speaking of Mrs. Wentland? Your conversation?
Correct.
Okay, she did provide a letter which has been sent to the alders. It came in after the public packet for this meeting was published. It will be, we can supplement and repost, but she did provide a letter that was provided to the alders earlier today in lieu of testimony, because she was provided that alternative. She didn't feel comfortable providing testimony today. Any questions from the alders for Ms. Brzezinski?
I do. I just have clarification.
Go ahead.
For the neighborhood association, you currently sit on the board?
I do.
Okay, and what's your position there?
President.
President? Okay. And did your board take a vote on this as well, or no?
No, it happened in between our meetings.
Okay, thank you.
So we don't meet again until June.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
If there's nothing else for Ms. Brzezinski, is there anyone else participating in the meeting who wishes to offer testimony in this matter? Okay, hearing none, I think we can close testimony. This would be the appropriate time for a motion to convene to close session.
I'll accept the motion. Alder Morgan? Was that you?
Yes, I make a motion that we go in closed session.
Okay,
Second.
all right, thank you.
Just stand by a second. Deputy Clerk Fugue will be putting
Hold on,
everyone in.
no,
close.
no, not yet, Lieutenant.
We should read the,
Alder Morgan, can you read the language?
Yeah.
As you motioned it.
What is the
The closed
Reading-
session.
it's right in the agenda item, I believe, right?
Would you like me to read it for you? And then you can do the
Yes,
motion?
I have it up, but go ahead.
Sure. Protection Policy Committee may convene in closed session pursuant to 1985 sub A Wisconsin statutes as a quasi judicial body for the purpose of deliberating the appeal by Miss Anthony of the Dangerous Dog Declaration. The Protection and Policy Committee may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985 sub 2 to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll
Okay.
try and put you guys into the breakout room.
Can't we do a break-in room instead of a breakout?
So you're gonna want to put them in the waiting room, Lieutenant Mahoney.
Are you able to assist with that?
Yes, everyone I'm putting in the waiting room, you're putting back in the meeting. So,
Okay, I won't touch my computer.
okay, that might be ideal.
I see you have Channel 2 News in the waiting room and some other people.
Yes, so anyone who can't participate in closed session, I'm just placing into the waiting room.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's see. And then I believe. And so looking at this, was Officer Mavis supposed to stay in closed session?
She.
In the regular session
Okay,
as one of the parties to the appeal.
sure, understood. So it looks like we have myself, Lieutenant Mahoney, Deputy City Attorney Lacy, and then Alder Scannell, Alder Morgan, Alder Stevens, Alder Grant, and City Attorney Bungert. And then did you press pause then, Lieutenant Mahoney?
I can. I resume the recording now as well.
All right, thank you. I will take a motion to go back into open session.
I make a motion that we return to open session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Brandy should be back shortly. So we have to wait for him. All right, you back?
Is everybody back already? Oh, wow, okay.
Yes, we're in open
Sorry.
session.
Sorry.
All right, regarding the consideration of possible action on the appeal, I will take a motion.
I motion that we,
I'm sorry, excuse me. First, we need to do the motion for open session.
We did that already.
Oh, I'm sorry. Without Alder Scannell.
It was by Alder Morgan, second by Grant.
Apologies.
No
I didn't hear that
problem.
part.
I'll make a motion to accept the findings in fact and to approve of the declaration of a dangerous dog.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay?
Yeah, and I'd just like to say, I've been a part of a number of similar situations, and this is always very difficult on the dog owner. The dogs are always well loved by their owners. It's something we all very much appreciate, but we have to be mindful of the community at large. And in this case, I certainly hope that you can find it at some time to make peace with David. I know his behavior hasn't been as beloved as your dog, as Jake's, but I certainly hope you can find a place where you can make peace with David again also. So just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the committee? If not, that'll go to Common Council on June 7th. All right, we'll move on to the next. Consideration possible action on a renewal application for a Class B combination license for the Canary Market LLC at 320 North Broadway with a change of agent. This was filed 5/16/2022. Attorney.
So this facility, the Canary Market LLC, this same issue was previously before the Protection Policy Committee a year ago, that the business has been non-operational, and city ordinance provides that an inoperative business is not to maintain a liquor license. Again, so referring back to the previous time this was reviewed, the point was that the non-renewal was recommended because the establishment has been closed. I don't believe any other additional information has been provided that says otherwise, that the establishment has reopened. I think according to the information I have, it's been closed since the summer of 2020 pursuant to Section 4. That is not in continuous use, indicating ongoing business for a period in excess of 60 days is subject to revocation, or in this case, non-renewal, unless otherwise authorized by City Council. I don't have any other information on operation or sale of the business, other than as far as we know, this is now the second year of an inoperative business, or that the business has not been operating as a restaurant, bar. So that's all I have. Again, a non-renewal due to the inoperation of the facility as a restaurant bar.
Lieutenant.
Please concur with law.
All right, thank you. Well, Randy, what did you say?
I make a motion to non-renew.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nay? All right, that's approved for non-renewal. Number 10, consideration with possible action on a 2022-2023 renewal application for a Class B combination license by Dual Sports Bar LLC at 1114 Main Street. This was also filed 5/4/2022. Attorney.
The law department will defer to Lieutenant Mahoney and the police department to provide their response in this matter, as we concur with the police department.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you. The Green Bay Police Department does not support the renewal of dual sports liquor license. Mr. Kane is identified as the leaseholder and Mr. Rosio is the actual liquor license holder. They have not made a full-face effort to reduce the number of disturbances at Dual, resulting in a sustained high number of police calls, including crime that could have arguably be prevented by Dual with some due diligence. The following is the liquor license information provided on the application and the law enforcement call history. It was in the packet that you received. Essentially, the liquor license holder is a Mr. Rosio, and I can let you know that I have never met this gentleman. Every time we deal with the bar, Mr. Kane identifies himself as the owner of the bar and is running the bar. In the packet, towards the end of the packet you received, there were some small claim suits filed against Mr. Kane for non-payment of services, and we believe that, along with an action for eviction, even though that's being put on hold, shows that he is not able to pay bills or fees that is required by the liquor license. We did have conversations with Mr. Kane where he said he was fixing issues that we had at the bar. He said that, but shortly thereafter, on May 14th, so 2 Saturdays ago, one of his bouncers allowed a 20-year-old female to gain entry into the bar. According to our police report, our witness said that the bouncer told her she needed to learn the information on the fake ID a bit more, but still allowed her in the bar. Later on that evening, that same security officer took the underage female's friends to his vehicle and sexually assaulted her via digital penetration. It was reported that the security staff also offered cocaine to the victim so she wouldn't feel anything. The security person in question is listed as a suspect. He's currently on parole for felony arson and burglary offenses. The suspect is currently on 13 years of extended supervision per court records. As part of his parole conditions, he was not to be in any licensed establishment, have possession of alcohol-controlled substances, entry into a place whose primary sale is alcohol. That person has been charged with a second-degree sexual assault by use of force and a probation hold. During this incident, there were witnesses to that. There was the victim and her friend, and there was a third party that witnessed it. The third party told our detective she advised Mr. Kane that the bouncer sexually assaulted someone, and she believed Kane wanted to downplay it as he did not want the police at his bar. A simple CCAP search of this person on the Wisconsin Circuit Court access page by Mr. Kane would have seen that this person was a convicted felon and had all these conditions against him. Mr. Kane, as long as Mr. Rosio, will be receiving a citation for allowing an underage person on premise. The community police officer that's issuing that citation got tied up with other calls, so he has not issued it to date. I know in our packet it said he was cited. The citation is issued or is written out, it just hasn't been issued. Besides that, the cumulative calls that we as a police department at that establishment, it's, I don't want to say drain of our services, but a lot of our services are tied up with that bar. To date, there were 111 calls for service. Out of that, there were 47 calls for disturbances, which leads the city, 2 weapons calls. And there were other various calls for theft, crime prevention calls, and drug arrests in the parking lot. In February of 2022, our community police, along with the state alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, the Department of Revenue, along with Lieutenant Allen, did a compliance check and found that the bartenders did not have valid bartending licenses. We did allow the bar to stay open but not serve alcohol. So it was essentially shut down for alcohol service for an hour until a valid bartender with a license could be found to respond. Mr. Kane was asked if he kept a file of all of his bartenders, and he said he did not. At this last week's city council, Mr. Kane said his bar capacity is one of the smallest in the area. With that, if you look, he still had 111 actual calls to the bar. The total number of calls was 124, but Lieutenant Allen and myself took out any of the traffic stops, parking complaints, medical emergencies, missing persons, or disturbances that were not related to the bar. And I can tell you, we erred on the side of caution that if we believed that there would be no way of any of his staff knowing, we automatically took it out. And if there was one in question, we did not count it against the bar. There were still 47 disturbance calls. Dual did call on 24 of them, but that's over a 10-month period. If you look at other bars in the area, for example, the Oval Office only had 64 calls, yet their capacity is a lot more. Excess Nightclub, who Mr. Kane also said has a bigger capacity than his, they only had 7. Some of our bars downtown, this information was given to you alders at the city council meeting. You can read through it. The other bars in Green Bay do have police calls, and we understand that that's the nature of the bar business, but Dual, they by far are our greatest use of resources. So with all that being said, we don't believe that Mr. Kane or Mr. Rosio need or deserve to have a liquor license, as a lot of police resources and other resources in the city of Green Bay are being tied up for this establishment.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee? I have one for Lieutenant.
Yes.
So when this all started, say let's do this May 14th as a start date. Has the calls increased to dual, stayed the same, or decreased?
I would say,
I said that May 14th, really, that's a biggie, so.
yeah, I would say they've stayed pretty much the same. Our night shift officers, they essentially park there or make themselves very close to that establishment every Friday and Saturday night, because they believe that's where they're going to be called to. So instead of having to drive halfway across the city to get there, they are in that area, the Main Street corridor, and it seems an abundance of the calls are related to dual sports.
Okay. And the leaseholder of this, Rossi?
The liquor license holder?
Yep, the liquor license. Have you had any personal conversations with him?
No, I have not.
So you've tried to reach out to him with no response back?
I have not. I don't know if Lieutenant Allen has. He's out of town on vacation right now, but I have not talked to him directly.
Okay, thank you.
Should we open the floor?
I was just gonna ask you, would you like to open the floor?
I'll make a motion to open the floor.
All right, do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nay. Okay, it's open. Anybody would like to speak?
I'd like to speak.
Okay, Mr. Kane, if you just give your name and your address again, please. For the
Michael Kane, 3308 Sitka Street, Green Bay, 54311.
Thank you.
So we're going back to almost the same exact thing that you've all heard May 14th and again last week at the council meeting. Basically, everything that Lieutenant Mahoney again has said is either vague or not accurate. I have a copy of every police report from July 1st until today, and there's nowhere near that many calls. There's exactly 14 disturbances, reported disturbances since July 1st. 14. There's not even close to amount that he says. He claims there's 2 weapons calls. I have the list in front of me, and there's only 1. And I'm not saying only to downplay anything, but I'm saying the difference between 1 and 2, you're talking 50% of the calls for weapons. I'd like the committee, when we refer Lieutenant Mahoney, I'd like to know the dates of the weapons calls. I have one, and it's April 22nd, I believe. The only weapons, April 22nd, the only weapons call that is listed in any reported disturbance with this address. Also, going back to what they say, what Lieutenant Mahoney is saying about a bouncer and how we could have prevented that. We did do a background check on him, although he provided us with the wrong last name. So we did do our diligence. We did CCAP him. We found nothing. He was referred to us through a third party security company. So regardless, we did our job on top of being referred by someone else. Lieutenant Mahoney's crossing a very fine line, being in violation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 11 specifically, that innocent until proven guilty, and he's really close to crossing that line and really opened himself up for a lawsuit. Not to mention, almost a violation of the 14th and 6th Amendments that are allotted people. And I can tell you, I reviewed the video thoroughly, reviewed the video that we supplied to the detectives. And in my opinion, that I have a feeling if the committee were to review the video of the alleged sexual assault, I think the committee would be in agreement that this girl willingly got into his vehicle. She was going to get a ride home from him. She was pulled out by a third party person who happens to be an employee of the Oval Office. And if you know the history between us and the Oval Office, it's almost a coincidence that's too much to ignore. And she was talking to me in the parking lot, and she never once said that she believed that the girl in question was assaulted. She was asking for a job. She wanted to make Jello shots and sell Jello shots in the middle of the bar. She never ever once showed a concern for the girl that was allegedly assaulted. And the video will show that the bouncer was in his vehicle for exactly 7 minutes before he got out of the vehicle, went into the building, got some glasses of water, and brought them back out there. In the meantime, she's reaching for his hand. Several times she reaches for his hand to take comfort with him. And this is all on video. And at the whole time that this is happening, the alleged assault is happening, there's an officer parked directly across the street facing this bouncer's vehicle. Then the officer that was parked across the street actually goes around the block and comes to the side of the building and literally stops his patrol car with less than 40 feet from where this alleged assault happened. The girl at that time was outside of the vehicle. She had every chance to say to me or say to the police officer that was 40 feet away that an assault happened. All she said was she wanted to go home. That's all she said to me. So she had every chance. The supposed witness that also claims that she spoke to me in the parking lot never ever once thought that she was assaulted or said that she was assaulted. All she wanted to do was come back tomorrow night and sell Jello shots in our bar. So, like I said, with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Lieutenant Mahoney is very close to crossing a line. The bouncer in question was charged, but he is not guilty until proven guilty. And I'm not that night. If I was told of an assault that night, I would have flagged the officer down myself. It was bar closed. It was 2:30 in the morning. All I said is, hey, I don't care what you guys do, but you got to go home. That's all I said as far as, kind of blowing it off. I never was informed of an assault at all. So, I mean, that's all I got to say about the assault, the alleged assault. And also in Lieutenant Mahoney's submittal to the council or to the committee, I believe if as a committee you make any decisions based off of everything or anything that Lieutenant Mahoney says, I believe you're putting yourself in a position, like I said, for a lawsuit, not by me, but by somebody. And actually, even going back to the reference to our civil situation with our landlords, there's what's called there's what's called an automatic stay. When you're involved in a civil situation and it evolves to a bankruptcy situation, there's what's called an automatic stay. To keep referring to our civil suit with our landlords, which is in a bankruptcy situation. And it's not a bankruptcy situation because we couldn't pay our bills. It's in a bankruptcy situation so we can assume our lease and continue staying in that building. So this is not a bankruptcy situation because we owe money. It's a bankruptcy situation to reorganize the business to assume. And again, Lieutenant Mahoney is putting himself in a position, that there may be grounds for a lawsuit. The federal government says that lawsuits or bankruptcies are off limits, especially during the bankruptcy. Before and after, he can say all he wants. During the bankruptcy, he can't say anything. He also referenced the debt that we had with the refrigeration company. That refrigeration company has since been paid an amount, which is irrelevant to this, seeing as it's civil and has absolutely nothing to do with the renewal of our license. So going back to basically every single thing that Lieutenant Mahoney has said, he's either inaccurate or misrepresenting or exaggerating. And like I said, I can refer back to him the amount of police calls. I have the pages in front of me. I counted them half an hour ago. I still come up with 14 disturbance calls. And if the committee remembers when Alder Gavin mentioned anything more substantial than a chest bump, there are 14 reported disturbances since July 1st of last year, 14. And out of those 14 calls, we made every single one of them. And I have the list here. And if Lieutenant Mahoney can contradict what I'm saying, that there was 14 reported disturbances, I'd be surprised. Like I said, I haven't just sat here and done nothing since this. And not to mention, at the council meeting, Lieutenant Allen stated that we weren't in jeopardy of this conversation, that we weren't in jeopardy of having any question whether we should renew the license here. We put $350,000 into a building, and 2 months after we opened, our landlords decided that they didn't want to make a deal. They didn't want to honor their deal that they made with me, to the point where they owed me in excess of $30,000. And at that point, that money was supposed to be applied to our rent payments, which 2 months after we opened, they just realized that, they undersold us a building, and they wanted to pull some stuff, and they wanted to try to get the building back, plain and simple. And I hate to think that this is a witch hunt, and that they're really, they're grasping at straws. We blocked every attempt, for them to evict us. It doesn't take a year and a half to evict somebody if they actually, it's a really sticky situation. But I mean, that's all irrelevant. What matters here is the amount of police calls. And I have video just from the other night that shows a fight with customers leaving the Oval Office that was picked up, near the front corner of our building. The fight literally from the corner of our building out into the street, back onto the sidewalk on the other corner of our building, bypasses 100%. And those were customers of the Oval Office. And, we had that video, and, we planned on showing that to Lieutenant Mahoney and Lieutenant Allen. But like I said, I don't think at this time it matters. I feel like this has become something almost personal to these officers, specifically Lieutenant Mahoney. I don't know if he has a secondary agenda. I really don't understand. But I can tell you that if this legitimately had that many police calls in that short of time, what took them so long to reach out for me? Lieutenant Mahoney and Lieutenant Allen both know exactly where I am every single day at 1114 Main Street, and I was not aware of these calls at all. So he can claim, or Lieutenant Mahoney can claim, hundreds and hundreds of police calls. But why not stop in sooner? Why not make a phone call sooner? If it was really that bad, why not? Why wait till there's 100 plus police calls? And the other thing is, if this place is so bad, why is there a line outside every single day? I mean, there's a line for customers that want to come in and have fun. We obviously must be a pretty fun place, a pretty cool place to hang out, that there's people willing to stand in lines for hours at a time. Then Lieutenant Mahoney also said that his officers spend time outside the bar every Friday and Saturday night. That is 100% false. We have cameras, and I can show you that they weren't there on Friday night because I was there. They weren't there last Friday night because I was also there. They were there on Saturday night this past weekend. And also, I mean, I can tell you, when you asked Lieutenant Mahoney if the calls went down, they absolutely went down. And I know May 24th is not a long time ago, but April 24th is not a long time ago, but the police calls have been almost zero, with the exception of the alleged assault. And I hate to keep on saying alleged assault, because if I have young daughters, I have a 21-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old daughter, and someone touched them, I'd probably be in prison. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it wouldn't piss me off, because I'd be mad. I mean, if that happened to someone I knew, I'd be mad. But I reviewed this video, and this video is so, it's something's not right with it. If this young lady was assaulted, it doesn't show in the video. And I don't know how to take it. I don't know. I mean, all I know is what I can see, and I call it like I see it. As far as the underage girl, there was no question about her being underage. The only question is she supplied us with the paper ID, which, according to the Wisconsin statutes, the Wisconsin 125.07, that if she claims to be of age, we take that like it is. And then Wisconsin statute 125.085, if she produces proof of that, we take it for what it is. And she supplied us with an ID. her friend was 23 years old according to her ID. So we took it as she was of age. Whether she's underage or not, the question was whether we should accept the paper ID versus the actual Wisconsin driver's license. So that was the only question. It wasn't about her age. It was about whether or not to accept it. And her friend being 23 years old only made sense that the other girl was similar in age. I don't see a lot of 23-year-olds hanging out with underage people, especially trying to get into the bars. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense for me to be 23 years old and taking a chance that my underage friend could get in a bar. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm going with that, you know. But again, I'd like to hear Lieutenant Mahoney's. You know, he rambles on these police calls, and he claims there's 100 and some police calls. I would like him, while I'm sitting here, while I'm in this meeting with the committee, I'd like him to tell me the two weapons calls. I'd like him to date those. I would like for him to tell me exactly what was involved with those. The disturbance calls, I would like him to list off every reported disturbance call that he has in front of him, so I can compare them with my notes. You know, I would encourage, you know, the committee to ask those questions, because it's very, once again, it's very, very vague. You know, with the meeting that happened in April, Lieutenant Mahoney began his statements with 197 police calls. That's already been reduced to, I believe he just said 111. I'm telling the committee that I have the factual proof that there is 14 reported disturbances to that address since July 1st of last year. 14. And I think, like I said, I believe this is personal, and I'm taking it personal now. I was kind of acting more business-like, you know, but I believe that Lieutenant Mahoney has something personal with the situation.
Mr. Kane?
And yes.
Do you have anything else to say for us? Because you're repeating yourself, so.
Okay, yes, I'm just going to kind of go through I'm just going to go through the police report, the 11 pages that Lieutenant Mahoney supplied to you, and just tell you what my notes are. You know, as far as I touched base on the underage person, I touched base on the assault, the alleged assault. As far, you know, and I'm really offended that I would have downplaying anything. Like I said, I have daughters, and I would not downplay that ever. You know, as far as not checking out this bouncer and not verifying stuff, he gave us a false name. The name that he gave us actually coincided with his social media.
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Like I stated, you're repeating yourself again. Do you have any other information that you have not already spoken about?
Yeah, let's go back to the ATF. Lieutenant Mahoney claimed that the ATF came into our building in February. That again is inaccurate. They were in our building in January. There was a licensed bartender on site. His license was suspended for not paying a ticket. The unlicensed bartender was there under his license. She assumed that his license was valid because we actually had it in the bar. And he did produce that for the police department, but they determined that it was suspended for not paying. And he actually took care of that ticket on site that day. And the amount of time that lapsed between the ATF or not having a licensed bartender was not an hour. It was more like 25 minutes. And we knew that because we reviewed the video, and it was about a little less than 25 minutes before a licensed bartender showed up. You know, and as far as I guess. The other thing I'd like to mention too, that the amount of police calls that were to that building, we did do the per capita amount of police calls, and in 2019, sorry, the amount of police calls per capita was at 22%. With the amount of individuals that are in that area now, the amount of police calls in this last year, where it was at 16%. So the amount of police calls per capita have actually gone down. Like I mentioned in the council meeting, two very, very, very popular bars open up at the same time. So with that influx of people, the committee has to take into consideration when you add 1,000 people to any one area, and you basically you're triple, but the amount of police calls is less than doubled. So you almost have to consider that with the amount of people there, things are bound to happen. It's inevitable. And according to the liquor license, the statute said that a lot of the statutes that involve the liquor license, it talks about maintaining an orderly house. What happens in our parking lot, especially a parking lot that is shared by several bars, and there's bars that are on the other block that people park their cars in our property. So you're talking about a parking lot. Every single one of these disturbances happened in a parking lot that is shared by at least 5 different bars, at least. And there's no way to pinpoint any one of these disturbances. And the reason why they claim that we didn't call on some of them is because we didn't even know they were happening, because they didn't happen. At what point do our customers become the bars next door customers, or the strip clubs customers, or the bar across the streets customers? At what point do they become or do not become our customers? And to even determine, we are the most centrally located building in that block. We are dead center in that block. It's inevitable that they're going to walk past our building, walk through our parking lot, walk around our parking lot, climb a fence to get to the Oval Office, climb a fence to get to accept. It's inevitable that these people are going to come from all over the place, and to base any kind of denial on, number one, the alleged assault would be a total violation of human rights. Not to mention the 6th and 14th Amendment. Number two, to base it on numbers that Lieutenant Mahoney supplied to you would also be an injustice, because the numbers are not accurate. And number three, you cannot compare this situation to anything that happened 2 years ago. You can't compare it to anything that's going to happen in the future. Green Bay has never seen an influx of people in one small block like this. So to deny this liquor license renewal, and it would be a total injustice, basically based on the fact that we put $350,000 into this building. We did not do that to have police calls. And I can supply the committee with hundreds and hundreds of minutes of video to show you that these things happen outside of our control. We've done everything we possibly could.
Mr. Kane, I think
Yes.
we're gonna let the committee ask you some questions.
Okay, thank you. I would like to come back and speak, though. Last time I couldn't do that.
Sure, yeah. But yeah, let the committee ask you some questions, and we'll see who else is here to speak as well.
Okay.
I've got a question.
Alder Grant?
Mr. Kane, now your bouncer you said you got from a security company, or referred to you by a security company?
Right.
Are you required to have proof of ID, just like you would any other employee when you're going through a third party like that?
The basic requirement for the bouncers is a W-4 form. They fill it out, and that's. I mean, they don't need to have a bartender's license. I mean, so no, there would be no official other than we just make sure we check just because. I mean, we don't want, number one, we don't want thieves in the building or access to our building. That's the main thing that we're looking for, is that they're we can trust them that way. And I know the suspect in question, it lists his crime as arson. We did check him out after the detective gave us his actual name, and the arson that he was imprisoned for happened when he was 17, and he was a party to the crime of that. So I almost don't even know if we would have held that against him, even if we did have his actual name. The rest of his record shows basically he was on extended supervision. With that in consideration, we would not have hired him, because I mean, we know that he would not have been allowed there. But the arson from when he was 17 years old, I wouldn't even know how to judge that. I mean, We don't need bouncers that bad, so chances are he would not have had a job there if we would have had his real name.
Does the third-party security company require proof of ID? I guess I'm just kind of confused where loss of, whenever you get hired, you typically show some sort of ID. And I'm just kind of lost if that was on the security company or your establishment.
I would say that would be on them. We just we got to the point where we just needed to hire security, and we reached out to it's a company that goes by the name of Bark, and they just referred some individuals that were local, and we just went with their referral.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So I want to piggyback on that. So this third company, you paid them directly for this bouncer to work at your establishment?
No, the bouncers were set up as independent contractors. They were just referrals. They were not actually employees of anybody. I believe they're just independent contractors. I think they put I think how it works is they just put their name on a list, and they just get I mean they were referred to us, and that's basically how we got him. It was actually two people is who we got referred to.
Okay. Any other alders? Alder Morgan, did you want to have a question? Oh, you're muted. Oh. Alder Morgan, you're muted.
Not of Mr. Kane. I will have one of Lieutenant Mahoney in the future.
Is there any other parties that would like to speak to this matter?
Yes, I would.
Okay, if you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Attorney Nicholas Linz. My address is 200 South Washington Street, Green Bay. I am the attorney for the landlord, Dual Sports landlord, which is Greater Source LLC. I just wanted to state that I think Mr. Kane's comments that he just made on this thing during this meeting show that he will really say anything in order to get him to where he needs to be. I think that, excuse me here, I'm in my car, just let me pull over real quickly. The allegations that or any insinuation that he made that the Oval Office has anything to do with the assault that happened are absolutely unfounded and frankly ridiculous. Oval Office had nothing to do with this incident. And 1 second here, I'm trying to pull over. Okay, I apologize for that. I did send the councilman a lengthy email as well as several attachments that kind of detail a little bit of a response as to what Mr. Kane had said at the Common Council meeting, as well as some of the comments that he echoed today. And I think the information that I sent you just demonstrates that what he's saying isn't accurate, and really that it's really done in an attempt to try to escape some responsibility here. Certainly, if a council or if the aldermen have any questions about what I sent or about the issue going on with the landlord, I'm happy to answer them. But I just want to add that my client and I really echo the comments of law enforcement. They're tasked with keeping the area safe for everybody. They don't have a dog in the fight here other than protecting the general public. And if they say that, dual sports is a problem, then I think we need to have their back rather than, accuse them wildly of human rights violations. The memo submitted by Lieutenant Mahoney and Lieutenant Allen is pretty clear. Dual Sports leads the city in disturbance calls. It has more than 3 times the number of disturbance calls than anyone else. The memo, along with the other report that the police department gave to the Common Council, they say cases of sexual assault, violence, gun violence, fights, drug arrests, over-serving, underage persons allowed in the bar, unlicensed bartenders. The video I sent to alders shows that there were 2 fights just recently that Dual Sports right in front of them that they did nothing to de-escalate the situation. Law enforcement says that they're a problem. the license holder and the operator are doing nothing to curb those problems. According to their bankruptcy filing, the license holder is a 2% owner, but he's never around. Who is around is the operator, Mr. Kane, and he just places blame on everybody else to say whatever he can do to keep the money flowing when law enforcement tells us he's not properly screening his employees. He's not making sure they enforce the law, and he's not making a full faith effort to reduce the disturbances, including those that law enforcement believes that could have been prevented by him. In my mind, that really should be the end of the discussion. Dual is in a bankruptcy due to the not payment of rent. It admitted that right in its filing. It's been sued by others for non-payment of services. These are facts. It doesn't pay its rent, and it doesn't hold itself accountable to anyone for the property damage and the violent acts of its employees and customers. As a victim of the neighborhood, but that is not what law enforcement tells us is the case. He wants you to feel bad for him because he has put so much money into renovating the building, but that was his choice. And it doesn't give him a pass on running an establishment that violates the law and generates 3 times more disturbances than anyone else in the neighborhood. I trust the numbers provided by Lieutenant Mahoney over those provided by Mike Kane. And the landlord, the Tavern League, and law enforcement all believe that this license renewal request should be denied. It may be a harsh result, but I think it's necessary in this case. I'm happy to answer any questions, as well as my client's agent, Mr. Kevin Weaver. He's also participating in this meeting. He's happy to answer your questions that you guys have. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee, any questions? No? Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this matter? Okay, I do have a question for Mr. Kane, or maybe the attorney. Mr. Kane. The liquor license holder is Russ Rocio. Where is he currently?
He works second shift,
Okay.
so he's never available. I mean, if these meetings were any other time except now, he'd definitely make himself available.
This is the 3rd time going through this, so I think he would have made himself available.
I mean, I've tried to get, it's one of these things. He's a supervisor in a plant in Kaukauna. He doesn't have that, he just doesn't have that availability. His role at work, he said, is just more important. The safety of the plant is more important than us. Sadly, financially, we're more invested than he is. So he kind of downplays the situation, the financial side of the situation. And if he could make himself available, he definitely would. He's really, he's everything I say and everything I've seen, he's seen. I wish, he wouldn't have anything more to say than me. He trusts me to be his proxy. He trusts me to voice what I think needs to be heard. I don't know if now's the time to touch on some of the things that Attorney Lynn said. But when I have that time, I'd like to touch on some of that stuff. But as far as Russ goes, he trusted me to be the proxy. He just knows, that I'll invest, and that it's important to me, as it is to him. But like I said, he trusts me just to be his proxy.
Good, thank you. Committee, any other questions for anybody? Okay, what would you like to do?
Well, we could close the floor unless the other members wanted to hear further from Mr. Kane.
Well, I'd still like to hear back from Lieutenant Mahoney, and I also like to comment on some of the things that Attorney Lynn
Lieutenant, this is our meeting. You're addressing us, and he addresses us, and it's not a conversation between the two of you. That has to happen somewhere else, not here.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I will entertain a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? All right. Floor is now closed. Committee, what would you like to do?
Well,
I'd like to speak to Lieutenant Mahoney
Yes.
about 3 hours ago, I was talking to a young deputy sheriff I've known for 17 years, a Deputy Laux. And he was asking me if it was true I was now a city alderman. And he mentioned that, well, I've known him since I was a deputy sheriff. And he mentioned that Brown County officers are called several times to this address on Main Street. Now, you were talking about all your numbers. If a deputy sheriff would make an arrest there and they generate their own paperwork, would this be included in those numbers you've given us?
It could be. When I pulled the numbers, a point of clarification for Mr. Kane, he is probably looking at the actual number of police reports. That is not the number of times we are called to a residence or an establishment. When we get called to a place, we're dispatched, there's a CAD number to it. Those numbers for police calls are always higher than the actual police reports. That's what we are basing the numbers off of. We might be called for a disturbance there. When we get there, people don't want to talk to us. People don't want anything done. So a actual police report is not generated, but it's still a call for service because there was a disturbance there. Or someone else might call saying, hey, I see a fight going on there. We go there because we have a witness saying it. The witness wants to remain anonymous. By the time we get there, nothing is seen or done. So that is why Mr. Kane is probably thinking that the number are his number. He probably has the actual police reports we did, not the number of times that we were actually called to that his establishment. But yes, if a deputy was showed up, got sent there, depending on when it is, I do know the county recently switched over their reporting to the same one that Green Bay PD shares. Prior to that, I would not have access to know if one of their reports generated that. We call it GURP. We're both on GURP right now. So yes, I would be able to pull it up. Prior to that, I do not know if that number would show. Like I said, Lieutenant Allen and I went through every single call at that place. That's why our numbers are based that way. I know Mr. Kane said this is personal. What I was relaying is just the numbers I have. The stuff about the sexual assault that night, the information came from a detective who I now have sitting here. He could explain to you the conversation he had with Mr. Kane. So I just want to let you know that we're basing everything on numbers and facts. It is not my decision. It's the committee and the council's decision. So that's why it's not personal. My job is to reduce the crime in Green Bay, and we believe this is one way that we could possibly do that.
When Deputy Laux questioned me, well, he was stating a fact that besides your resources, we are having county resources being pulled in for that. And he was upset about that. The one thing he mentioned to me is that they've noticed when they do come there, they are sent to the Palms Tire address. That's what's put on the call, but then when they actually have to respond to a disturbance or something, it is on Dual's property. Is that something the city officers have directly told you to, or?
They haven't directly told me that. I do know sometimes, yes, in that Main Street corridor, we might get dispatched to like the Palms Tires. We might get dispatched to Excess. That's why Lieutenant Allen and myself went through each and every call, and any of the calls that, even if it was one that was in question, we did not count that call against Dual. The ones we went through were the ones that we knew that happened at Dual that they should have been aware of.
Right. That's more or less what he told me. He would go there, or they would go there. They didn't respond singularly, but then they actually found the actions they had to take on Dual property. So that's why I was wondering if there are more calls we're not knowing about.
Well, myself or Lieutenant Allen did not pull up the calls to the Palms parking lot. We pulled up to the calls to 1114 Main Street, which was Dual's address, and just went through all of those calls.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, this is my district, so I guess I'll lead off. This has been an area of concern for a while, I guess. And it's not just the police, it's the neighbors who we've heard some of. There's more, but we've heard some of at council last time. And, the police have been doing this a long time. They don't make these, they don't ask for a non-renewal casually. They do their work and they feel strongly about an issue. And I've been involved in a number of these, and sometimes, I and others have gone along supporting the police, and sometimes we went with the owner. But in this case, I feel there's just so much here that has just gone wrong. One has to take responsibility for it, and the only one left is the owner. There's just I know there's concern from the PD, from several neighbors, and it's unfortunate because I appreciate that the owner, they have invested in this. This is something that's difficult to, I don't do this lightly either, but I feel I think I need to support the police on this one, so I will make the motion to non-renew.
All right, do I have a second?
I will
Second.
second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Alder Scannell, second by Alder Morgan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? All right, that'll be recommendation to common council 4-0 for non-renewal. Number 11, correct? Yep. Okay, number 11, consideration of possible action or request by Brewskis on Broadway at 1100 South Broadway to temporarily extend their license premise to the parking lot on June 26, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. subject to complaint. Attorney?
No objections.
Lieutenant?
The police have no objections. We know they've had an event like this type in the past, and it's only going to 8 p.m. So we know they put up security fencing or the snow fencing around. So we don't anticipate any problems there.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. All right, that passes. Number 12, consideration with a possible action on the release of the 2021-2022 Class B combination license for BGR Corp. at 240 North Broadway to the pool of available licenses due to a voluntary surrender. Attorney?
No objections.
Lieutenant?
Please concur.
All right, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? It passes. Number 13, consideration with full action on a request from Alder Stoyer administration, including the clerk's office, to put together a presentation for the public and the city council as to election processes that exist and or processes to be put in place to ensure that the August 2022 and November 2022 elections will be executed well. I will talk Alder Stoyer.
Thank you, Chair. Before I have a few things that I'd like to say first, before the critics and such come out, but I'd like to tell you the reason I brought this forward. And I'm going to read a little bit. I'm going to say there is no question on my part that there is much information on the city clerk's website with respect to election access information for voters, running for office information, campaign finance, poll worker information and responsibilities, election results, election notices, polling locations, election observer duties, requesting absentee ballots, tracking your ballot, registering to vote, and election results, among others. But there's a lot of information out there already. So I'm not trying to overturn an apple cart by any means. Despite this information, it has been pointed out to me by some citizens that it would be helpful for the city to put together a synopsis and a timeline of the work involved in the election process. It would be nice for citizens to see the very large amount of work involved in the election process. So I've got some other notes that I've written as well, but I'll let the committee kind of get to that. I checked the city of Appleton. I checked the city of Oshkosh as well. Some of the things they do. And there's a lot of information out there. So I'm not denigrating anything that way as far as the amount of information that's out there and that. I think part of the issue is that, navigating through it all and just trying to understand it. So, if there's a means by which we can do that, then I'd say let's look at it. That's all. So I'll hold off for now and let the committee go.
I guess I'd like to state, I think that is a good idea. I know I had several constituents when I was going door to door and stuff like that complain about it's really hard to work with the city's website. And I had trouble myself at times. I do want to commend the city. They did do a great job sending out these little postcards this year, which I don't remember getting in the past. Told you where to go vote and what district you're in, what wards and all this. So that was a great big help. And I can only see something like this might help a few more people. But I think one thing we really need to do is get that city website a little more easy for us people that are not computer literate.
Alder Scannell?
And this sounds like it's more like an IT issue than perhaps maybe working with the clerk's office and how to navigate and how to organize information. That's the thing for me is this is kind of vague. It really needs specifics. If there's something else to be added or anything.
Well, I got a few things if you'd care to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and there's just a few other things that, when I looked at these other websites, they were, when you search the term drop boxes in the Green Bay Clerk search engine, it speaks of other city departments, that are out there and where you can drop bills and fines and things like that. So, but as far as the city clerk's office, unless I'm missing something, I just didn't see anything there that just said drop boxes are no longer legal, so to speak. I was looking at some of the things, the Waukesha County came forward, a court ruling, and the League of, let me look here. I think the Wisconsin Counties Association came forward and talked about some of this as well. The city of Oshkosh, for example, let me just look if I can read this. Let's see. Okay, it said, the city of Oshkosh will not accept ballots submitted through the city hall drop box due to a recent Waukesha County, Wisconsin court decision that significantly restricts the ability of local governments to use drop boxes. So I guess the question I have is like, okay, Oshkosh does it, but what about other communities? So it might be a question for the attorney, as far as what is legal, what isn't. Is this tentative? Is this, I've understood that the drop boxes were kind of put on hold because of that court. So that's one thing, just talking about the drop boxes. That was one item. And just to see what we have, and I don't think there's anything on our website that says that you can't use them if the court said such. So that's one of my concerns. I don't know if anybody can help on that.
Hi, Alder Scheuer. This is City Attorney Bungert. Yeah, so I'm not sure what is exactly on the clerk's website with respect to drop boxes, but we do have drop boxes for the different departments outside of City Hall, coming in from the parking lot, which is kind of residual piece still left from the pandemic to allow people to drop off different forms and information outside of regular business hours. However, with respect to the clerk's drop box, it for election time, at least for the spring election, this most recent one, which is when the Teagan decision.
Uh-oh.
You're breaking up.
Attorney Bungart?
I think we lost her.
Okay, well, Alder Story, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So regarding, it sounds like you just want us or the clerk's office to clean up language that's pending on our website.
Well, I would think that would help. I think if nothing else, I mean, you know, sadly, I've had a number of citizens that, you know, they'll go to the media if they have a problem or a question. And the last thing I'd like to do is have that. I would rather have them go through the clerk's office just to make sure that everything that is in place. You know, I noticed they have a timeline talking about the various dates, and I think that's a very, very well done. There's a lot of information on it, and they are to be commended. I think they did a great job, but I still think there's a couple of little things that need to be cleaned up. It could be an IT thing. I'm more than willing to work with the clerk's office and any of the other alders if they have some suggestions. It's just to try to make it a little more easy to navigate through the system. There's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of folks that don't have computers as well. So that's a whole nother issue. So
For all the
yeah.
Sawyer, it sounds like you've done some footwork already.
Well, I have. I like doing footwork.
We know.
Don't say it, Randy.
Fancy
Don't
soft
say it.
shoe, soft shoe.
No soft shoe. But
Yeah.
yeah. You got a question for me, or?
No, I'm looking to be chosen to
Oh.
speak.
I'm good for now. I guess there's a couple other little points that I'd like to make. You know, we talk about observers, you know, what they're allowed to do and what not allowed to do. And, you know, there's information on all three cities that talk about that. And, you know, I know there was an incident where, you know, cameras were being used, video cameras or phones, iPhones. And I just want to make sure, you know, it sounds like it's okay as long as there's no disturbance with it. So little things like that, you know, maybe it's not little, but I just want to make sure that, you know, I've worked a couple of elections too, where I've observed the observers, so to speak, just walking around. And, you know, I just want to make sure that things are in place where people know their duties. They're not overstepping their bounds if they're taking, you know, pictures and things like that to send to whoever wants to look at this stuff. You know, that's a little cloudy too. Where does that information go? You know, that type of thing. So it's just, let's be open. Let's be honest. You know, that's all I'm asking. I'm done for now.
Alder Scannell?
Well, I would recommend then that we receive and place this on file, and Alder Stoyer and any other alder who has some idea, sit down with the clerk and see what you know, she's going to know exactly what is there and how it's set and what could be changed and what could be improved and what could be wiggled and woggled and what IT needs to do. And it doesn't really sound like we need council action on this per se. If you know, I think she'd be very amenable to working with you and certainly improving the website or improving the clerk's presence on the website. I think that conversation would be beneficial, and then if something comes from that action needs required, then a specific communication could be put in for that. That would require.
This seems to make sense, but you know, I'm just looking at timeliness as well. You know, the elections are coming up in August and November, so that's part of it. You know, you want to make sure you have some things in place early enough so that
it's going to be more timely if you sit down with her than if we have to actually go through committee and.
Well, I wasn't really looking for action tonight either. I just wanted to have the conversation, you know, and I know you disagreed with me at council, but that's okay. I still love you.
Well,
So.
Same here, but I love me too. But I mean,
Okay.
no, I just think and for efficiency's sake, I think it'd be better if you could sit down with the clerk and go through your list of things and see what can be done. And then if she says, well, this should go through the council, then we could, you could put an indication right there with her to come back to committee here, and also for any specific changes that would require. It sounds like it, I don't know that anything necessarily would. I think if some citizens have some concern and they're voicing them through you, to go to the clerk's office and try to get that all worked out we do that all the time. I'm not sure that we need to go through committee and council for this.
No.
So.
No, I still think it was important to talk about it. So I understand where you're coming from on that, and I'm more than willing to work with the clerks on that, and invite other alders to help as well, and not interfere, but just try to make it a good process. That's all.
If you got suggestions, go ahead. Yep.
I agree with you, Alder Scannell. Yes, you have August 22nd on here. The way it's presented to us, we would not get that information back to us before the August election, just because of timing now. So I would also suggest that we also receive and place on this file. And transparency is a big thing. And if you've done the work, Alder Steuer, so I would be looking at you. If there's issues with the website, yeah, we can probably address those without council matters, just so there's transparency and things are cleaned up more. Because our website is troublesome. It's hard to navigate through. We all know that. But so I would also agree that, and especially with our new alders, if they have questions, they're more than welcome to reach out to the clerk's office. Those girls down there are pretty sharp. They will give you anything that you ask and share more with you. So I would also ask the attorney if she has any thoughts that she would share with us. That'd be great too. But I also know Alder Grant has a question as well.
Yep, thank you. So if we were to motion to approve, is that just giving us a timeline for the clerk to create and clean up the website? Because I do agree with Alder Steuer. I have people ask me, they want to get involved as observers or poll workers and don't necessarily know how, or have questions about things that happened. I had someone mention that a serial number was written down on a ballot, and I think clarity of what's should happen is not a bad thing. And I think this is a great idea before a very major election coming up.
Thank you. Attorney, would you like to weigh in?
Sure. So in regards to Alder Grant's comments, so the motion, I believe, is to refer it to staff as opposed to just a motion to approve. But I think my suggestion would be that in lieu of just saying to clean up the website or something like that, it's going to have to be a specific list of items that we could do and check off. I think the city attorney Bungard is back on, but just picking up where she left off, and then she can speak back to your point, Alder Steuer, the question about ballots. Yes, there is some drop boxes at City Hall, which were formed, I believe, during the pandemic. The clerk's office, which I think is where city attorney Bungard left off, the clerk's office ballot boxes, those boxes, or the boxes outside the box for the clerk's office, specifically say that ballots left here will not be counted, and it's not a drop box. Like I could show you at a time in the future it looks like, and there aren't any other ballot drop boxes. There haven't been. If you recall the election where they were used, they were placed around the city. Those haven't been the case. The difference has been for in-person absentee voting that was taking place at the clerk's office during a specific time, and then there's also the delivery of a ballot that has already been cast, meaning it's in a closed envelope and provided to the clerk's office. And that takes place after in-person absentee voting concludes. There's a period of about 2 days before election day where ballots can be collected. So if there's specific information on those processes that you'd like added to the website, I would say it's a specific request for those items. I would also point out, though, that some of the things that we refer to about rules, I know you mentioned videos and photos as an example. The Wisconsin Elections Commission has a very specific rules, and there's a handout that says, things like still cameras and video are not allowed during voting, the prohibition for an election observer. Those things are generally, we refer to the materials and resources provided to the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and I don't believe they're recreated at a city level. But again, if there's a list of specific items, whether it's for an elections observer, an inspector, that you'd like to be addressed on the website, my suggestion overall is just that to the best of your, this committee's ability, we say what we would like added to the website. Because I'm not sure that if the clerk's office does this in conjunction with staff, they're going to need some specific areas to address, especially given the timeline.
Well, Attorney, could I,
Well,
Oh,
just to
could I
be
say
clear, I
something?
just want to make a clarification. I was talking about not referring to staff, but receiving and placing on file. And that
Yeah,
Alder
right. Two
Steuer could go to
different,
staff.
yes, I
Right.
understand. Two different motions. I just was referring to Alder Glant talking about a motion to approve. It would
I
either
see,
be
okay. I
the
see what
motion
you-
receive and place on file or a motion to staff with specific directions of what you'd like done.
Is there, let me ask the committee, is this something that if I got some things together in the next couple of weeks that you would address it at another meeting, just, or not? Or
Well,
do you want to just?
time-wise, I mean, why wait for that? I mean, time-wise.
I'm not. I would just say I've got some things now, but there's more that I could add. I'd like to do that.
I
That's
would
just
go-
me.
I would go to the clerk now with what you got. And if you come up with more, anybody else comes with more, everybody should just go to the clerk. I don't know why we're taking
Well, no,
committee and council time with something that can just be done with, I mean, we do this all the time where we have an idea with, the parks or public works or something, and we go right to the department and there's not necessarily necessary to go through committee, through council. I
Well,
mean,
you're right in a way,
council-
but for me, it's like, I look at what other communities have done too. You look at, you look what they do and you kind of go, okay, is there some legitimacy to that? Is it good? Is
Well,
it bad? Is it
you could do
whatever?
that. You could sit down with the clerk and talk through those things and she would be able to say, yes, we could maybe do this or not. And she'd have reasons and stuff. It just seems to come up with a list now.
Well, I'm
with
not
what you
asking
have
that.
is just going to be more cumbersome. Then it's got to go through council.
But
I mean, or.
I know,
or
I just
staff.
wanted the conversation. That's all I wanted, Randy.
Right, but
And-
and that's what's, I got mad about was because half the conversation, not with us, we're,
Well, don't
she's
wave
the
your,
one
don't
who's
wave your
confused.
arms like you did last time. Just,
Yeah.
okay? Don't do
But, I just feel I'm not sure what the purpose of all this is. I mean, if you got some great ideas, super duper, take it to Celestine and, I'm sure we can, you can get it all worked out. And then if there's an issue that arises or something comes up that requires committee work and council approval, then it could come forward. But right now, I just, this is too vague to refer to staff and it's too incomplete. Even if you put in a few things and you come up with some more, it just seems more efficient to go right to the clerk and work with the clerk.
Were you a teacher by any chance?
Just a little bit.
Okay. All right, I rest my case right now. I just wanted the committee to hear it and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do what need be. Go ahead. I'm done.
I'll make a motion to receive and place on file.
Before, I have a question for the attorney.
Oh, okay.
So if we receive and place on this file, can we also make an item to have the alders reach directly out to the clerk's office?
We don't want a
Regarding-
quorum here. I know that.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Alder Steuer? I missed what you
Well, I
said.
just said, like, if we talk amongst ourselves, we got to be careful about that too. So, you could have 12 different people coming in with 12 different, whatever. I'm just trying to figure out the easiest way to do that without,
I think he was referring to the clerk, not amongst ourselves.
The clerk, yes.
Yeah, that
Right.
all those would go to the clerk, not to each other.
Like, can
Go
we
ahead.
receive and place this on file, but can this committee make a suggestion that the alders reach out to the clerk's office direct?
Yeah, I
with
think that would be
their-
appropriate. I think that would be appropriate to add and it would be reflected in the minutes, which would then be obviously shared out in the P&P report at full council.
Sure. And then if there's any issues that they find through the clerk's office and it needs further council approval, then that agenda can come back to us. Correct?
Yes, I think that sounds appropriate.
So I make the motion.
So your motion is to receive and place on file. And then we add to that, or is it a separate motion?
Motion received and placed on file. And if alders have ideas for the clerk's office, they should contact the clerk on the elections.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think we need a little discussion. Do you, Alder Grant and Alder Morgan, do you understand what we're trying to get at? With
Not totally. I'm just afraid we're backing something like this up. I commend Alder Stoyer for bringing this up, and we need
Correct.
to get this where it is transparent and make it easier for our citizens of Green Bay to be involved and feel that their vote counts.
Yeah, and I think Randy and I, we agree with you, and I think Alder Stoyer agrees with you as well. There's two processes. You know, we can all go through council and we give them a whole list of things for them to accomplish, which might take 6 months from now for that to happen. Or a faster route would be to work with the clerk's office directly or with Alder Stoyer directly to determine what items need to be addressed or there's better transparency. So you can do that as an alder and a clerk one-on-one. Or you can have the whole council say, hey, we want this. But as of right now, it's really vague. We don't know where to start. Otherwise, we'd be chopping this up and giving this whole list of items that need to be done. But for the August 2022 election, that we won't get this information back for that. You know, we won't be able to get that transparency or get website corrected in time for that.
So are you saying if Alder Stoyer works directly with the clerk, it would be faster?
I would assume it would be, yes.
Would you help us? You know,
Alder-
can I ask if there are people would the other alders they could work with me as well? I'd be more than willing to just sit down and visit on this. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, that's up to, you don't need our approval. I mean.
Well, I mean, there's sometimes you gotta be careful.
I would expect some of the alders would reach out to you, so if I just don't have a quorum.
Yeah, just don't have a walking quorum.
Yeah.
So they can reach out to you, or they can reach out to the clerk themselves with their ideas. I mean, one or the other. I mean, it doesn't much matter, but.
Well, I think, you could look for efficiency on this. If you had, 12 different alders coming to the clerk with different things, everybody has their own ideas somewhat. Maybe there would be some alike things, but, part of it is getting the information out to everybody, just to make sure it's there. So I would entertain to have alders, if they'd like to reach out to me, and I'll share with what I have, and we can put some things together, and then we can go to the clerk, because otherwise we're going to have all these different messages, and I don't want to bombard their office. They have enough work doing it. So I think if we could do it in a succinct, unified way, I think that would be better. That's just in my estimation.
Well, as long as you don't have a walking quorum. Yeah. Fine.
I would, alders and committee members, this is City Attorney Bungert. I would advise against necessarily soliciting input from all the individual alders to then combine such recommendations to provide to the clerk, simply because that is a type of walking quorum where you're having individual conversations with alders, but all on the same topic, all to come to a consensus on one particular topic that could potentially come before council as an item to be acted upon. I think just listening to the conversation and discussion tonight, I think ultimately, if the goal is to try and provide some additional updates to the clerk's website or to the clerk's page on the city's website to have a little bit more information, more links to additional resources and other training materials or other pieces of information to provide some clarity as to election procedures, I think it would work best to receive and place on file with the direction for alders to reach out directly to the clerk's office, and then the clerk can best address those recommendations, as appropriate. And then ultimately too, if the alders don't feel that what they're seeking is getting accomplished, an item can always be put back on the agenda. Obviously, that's up to the discretion of the chair. But if an alder wants to have an item addressed directly again by committee, it can come back to an agenda without having an actual formal communication. It can just be placed with the blessing of the chair on an agenda. So between now and the next committee meeting, I believe we're in like the week of the 20th in June. So that's several weeks. So I think within that time frame, Alder Steuer would be able to kind of assess whether all the points that he's looking to address will be, taken care of, or if council action really is necessary.
And I should hope anything that communication that comes forward to the committee and council would be specific.
That would be the hope, yes.
Yes.
I think that could be done.
Any other questions? Did we answer your question, Alder Grant? Alder Morgan? Okay. So we had a motion to language Randy said, I seconded. So now we just need to vote on it, correct?
Yep.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Grant?
Passes unanimously.
Well, I can't see if they said anything. So.
Well, I don't hear any.
We can do a roll vote if you'd prefer.
All right, let's do a roll vote. Alder Grant?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Oh, you're muted. This guy.
Oh.
Aye, Alder Morgan. I'm
Aye.
Alder Morgan. Aye. Randy?
Aye.
Alder Scannell? Of course, aye. So it's 4-0. All right, that passes. All right, thank you. Informational. So we have liquor violation and police reports. Oh, there's in it.
Yep, there's nothing to report during this time frame.
Perfect. I will consider a motion.
I concur with that, and I make a motion to adjourn it.
Don't receive and place on file.
Oh, I'm sorry, right before that. I'm sorry. Motion received, place on file.
Do you have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, adjournment.
Now a motion to adjourn it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are now adjourned. Thank you,
Aye.
everybody.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.